What's up, everybody? It's your boy Ryan, and this is the Thunder Channel on Nootropics. Thanks so much for being with me. Guys, remember, every shred of information we put on this channel is brought to you by a couple products. Number one, the Cortex Nootropics Stack. 20% off. Everything is 20% off right now, livecortex.com. Perfect time to go get some product. Look, I mean, the Cortex Stack delivers everything. Motivation, mental energy, verbal fluency. The desire to do work. Like, don't you want the desire to just crack into your work and get stuff done? Cortex delivers 20% off using the coupon code 20 at livecortex.com. We just finished the sale on the Nootropics Masterclass. It was down to $55 from $119. Those of you that did that, thank you so much for your purchase. I'm glad you've got the Masterclass now, because now you can take your usage to the 6-year mark. People do things differently when they're in the game 6 years with nootropics and biohacking. Still, though, it's 20% off using the coupon code 20 at livecortex.com. If you're brand new to nootropics, this is absolutely where you have to start. I mean, I see a lot of people wasting a lot of time, spending a lot of money on powders, being somewhat inefficient, not getting the right results, kind of what we're going to talk about today, because they just don't have a good framework to start when they're brand new. Nootropics Ground Zero, a video course that I created for that reason, takes care of that problem, shows you from the ground up how to start using nootropics, takes you to the 3-year mark. Last thing, if you are a business person and need brain performance, substantial brain performance now, stacks tailored to what your brain has to do in business, look, you got to sign up for the 1-month intensive consult. We've been doing a lot of those, and they're the most successful short duration but immersion-based nootropics consults that we have. In addition to that, we have a 3.5-month and a 6-month, and those are really tailored toward more comprehensive, longer-term work with nootropics and brain performance, and then also recovery from things like PSSD and then over Adderall usage over the years, and for fried dopamine transport and receptors and serotonin dopamine issues and all that kind of stuff. 20% off most of those products with the exception of the consults at livecortex.com. All right, so I want to talk about why Racetams aren't for you. So people are like, oh man, Racetams aren't for me. It's a particular class of people that seem to be cholinergically dominant. Now, this is super unscientific, and I know some people are going to have a problem with that, and that's totally okay, because I actually can't validate that anywhere in papers either. But it does seem to be the case that a particular type of person responds pretty poorly to Racetams in general and anything cholinergic, but ultimately responds better to a lot of other things. And I'm gonna break down how you figure out which other nootropic compounds you'll respond to if you don't with Racetams in a particular way. But first, let's break down the profile. The profile of a person that takes Racetams and or anything cholinergic. We're talking about Noopeps, centrophenoxine, DMAE, even Alcar, all the choline sources or building blocks, or anything that modifies acetylcholine in a major way. The people that don't respond well, and usually gives them side effects like lethargy, and they just don't feel like themselves, and they actually can't focus the way that they're supposed to or used to be able to focus while not taking some of these cholinergic compounds, is first of all, people that are extremely linear thinkers. Okay, so think of an engineer and how an engineer thinks, right? They process information in a very linear fashion. It's sort of a step-by-step A to B type of deal. They don't do much abstract thinking. They think like a programmer, right? And look, I'm one of those people, frankly. I mean, I've sort of got both sides where I'm creative and like to project and like to abstract think, but at the same time, I'm also one of those people. Those type of people tend to be, though maybe not particularly socially effective, they are particularly verbally fluent, right? It's just the way that their brain works. It seems to be the case that when you have no cholinergic deficits whatsoever, and that system works perfectly, that you're pretty verbally fluent. Your brain works pretty quick as it is, and you're just a point A to point B thinker, and that whole system works fine, okay? Those are people that in the beginning of getting into nootropics, because so many of them are cholinergic, like most of the Racetams and all the choline sources and Alcar and things like this, get into nootropics and start taking, the usual suspects, Noopep, alpha GPC, CDP, choline, all of the Racetams, centrophenoxine, things of this nature, Noopept. And then they end up getting essentially side effects, right? They realize from those compounds that they do not function as optimally as they did prior to that. Doesn't mean they don't have deficits and they can't benefit from other nootropics, and that's the key point. So what you need to do if you're one of those people, first of all, realize not everyone's going to come in from the gate and respond to Racetams the right way or benefit from Racetams. I mean, it's just cut and dry that not everyone does. Now, a good amount of people do. It's just what they need through their history, through their genetics, through their neurotransmitter quantity and functioning and all these kind of things. If you don't, what you have to do is, number one, you have to survey your deficits. Survey your deficits. Okay, this is the strategy to find out which other nootropics or biohacking kind of strategies that you need to engage to function better. Is your deficit in motivation? Okay, do you have a motivation deficit? That would indicate that there's something dysregulated about either dopamine production or more than likely kind of dopamine transport. There's all kind of wacky things that can happen. Like SSRIs can do essentially what I call a serotonin steal, where they use both the serotonin transport and the dopamine transport to signal serotonin. Weird sort of thing going on there. In other cases, people have been taking, Adderall or whatever, something that just kind of modifies dopaminergic transmission in a way that's somewhat downregulated, in which case they would need to target perhaps research chemicals like 9-MEBC to try to fix that, and then otherwise delve deeper into brain physiology to figure out how to kind of fix dopamine. Is it general energy? Okay, do you just sort of need general energy? In that case, one needs to look at their diet, their vitamin intake, their vitamin levels, blood work, minerals, etc. Some suggestions on if you're that type of person is you should start experimenting with either modafinil, phenylalanine, theacrine, regular tyrosine, and then maybe kind of moving into, if you believe you've got some really hardcore issues around motivation, perhaps like low dose dihexa once a week and see if the neurogenesis and all the kind of nerve terminal repair that dihexa does starts to help you. The second thing to survey in terms of deficits is mental endurance. Mental endurance, sort of similar and sort of an overlap. But if your energy is failing, I mean, there's a lot of reasons why your energy could be failing, but I think neurotransmitter-wise, you probably want to, again, sort of look into catecholamine synthesis. That's epinephrine, norepinephrine, dopamine. Is there a synthesis issue with catecholamines? Can you improve that with research chemicals? Is it related to your diet? Like you're taking a BCAA, and that is essentially like with isoleucine, leucine and valine, and that is preventing catecholamine synthesis, because it actually does that. Are you not eating enough tyrosine in your diet? Bananas, meat products contain tyrosine, will facilitate catecholamine synthesis. Do you have a downregulated tyrosine hydroxylase? I mean, that's something that does seem to be the case for some people. In which case perhaps some bromontane, which has been demonstrated to do that, and then also, again, research chemicals like 9-MEBC to try to fix that issue. And then determining which nootropics that you want to take from there. Again, dopamine-centric compounds. If you can benefit from higher adrenaline and noradrenaline, because perhaps somehow you're not making enough of it, then you'd end up being more alert. You get a response to nootropics. You don't need Racetams. Gut problems. Okay, this is a huge one that I see, particularly in longer-term consulting clients. Like, we try some things and we realize in the end they've got gut problems that are preventing them from responding to anything. So particularly bad bacteria, whether it's in the small intestine or the colon, some of those bacteria release toxins, essentially. They're called lipopolysaccharides, and they end up in your bloodstream. They cross into and permeate the blood-brain barrier, and they cause brain fog, okay? So figuring out how to control, for the meantime, kind of a Band-Aid, the lipopolysaccharide-induced brain fog with things like N-acetylcysteine or alpha-lipoic acid would be the strategy. And then obviously thereafter trying to figure out what exactly is wrong with your gut and then trying to fix it. If it's SIBO, trying to fix that route. If it's something else, if it's like a colonic dysbiosis, trying to figure that out. And then I guess the last things to survey would be anxiety and depression, okay? Survey, do you feel like your problem is anxiety? Because so it's usually GABA related, and you might want to look into like inhibiting GABA T with lemon balm, maybe low dose picamilin to validate the idea that it's GABA, and then longer term kind of GABA repair agents, or maybe neurogenesis agents like dihexa to try to ultimately fix that issue. Meditation more, staying in nature as much as you can, trying to fix GABA. The last thing is depression, right? Survey what your issue is, and is it depression? And that doesn't necessarily mean that's serotonin mediated, for the record. I think we have largely made a mistake in thinking that serotonin is like the key culprit when dealing with depression. In my opinion, at this point, and this is based off of, it's like gut data gut, it's a lot of people that I've dealt with in this particular situation where optimizing serotonin with an SSRI might have worked temporarily, but gave them longer term sexual side effects or otherwise. I believe the target in depression for some folks should be dopamine instead of serotonin. So you might want to look at low dose L-DOPA to validate the idea that it's dopamine, and then from there trying to work on repairing kind of the dopaminergic system with, again, 9-MEBC, potentially bromontane for enzyme upregulation, tyrosine, phenylalanine, even theacrine, high dose caffeine. Those things are going to foster a little more release of dopamine, and then you can sort of figure out where you're at from there. But that is a list of what you should be surveying to figure out then what you should take. Listen, there are plenty of people that I work with and see that just don't respond well to racetams, and they're really not going to, and that is because essentially they're cholinergically dominant. You know, they might have just a lot of sort of acetylcholine production and signaling in the hippocampus, as an example, or other regions of their brain. I mean, it's just like how they're wired for whatever reason. And for some folks, it just could be their diet. I mean, they're eating a lot of eggs, they're eating a lot of choline precursors, so they don't need to be taking racetams. In those cases, survey your deficits. Is it energy? Figure that out. Is it a general dopamine issue? Try to synthesize dopamine better. Is it mental endurance? That could be catecholamine synthesis. Figure that out, right? Is it an adrenal issue? You've got to figure that out first before going. Is it testosterone? You got to figure that out first. And then that's essentially your nootropic stack. You know, the folks that work with me on testosterone, we give them an 8 to 9 protocol, 8 to 9 compound protocol, and that's the Viking testosterone protocol, and some of those operate in some sense like nootropics, improving blood flow in the brain and a host of other things. Is it gut problems? You gotta fix that. ALA and NAC in the meantime, then fix the gut issue. Is it anxiety? Focus on GABA. Is it depression? Focus on dopamine. Okay, so I hope that makes sense. Thanks so much for watching. People that are brand new, you don't necessarily have to gravitate toward racetams, and it might not be the best, especially if you think like a programmer or an engineer and you're very A to B linear type of thinker. Okay, thanks so much for watching, everybody. Remember, 20% off everything at livecortex.com. Just use the coupon code 20. Probably the best things to get would be the Cortex stack. It's just an everything stack. Like me being an entrepreneur, running my previous company, that was the stack I was taking over modafinil. I'm like, this has to be a pre-made stack, formulated a pre-made stack, 5 or so years ago. It ships to 25 countries. People love the Cortex stack. 20% off right now, livecortex.com. Nootropics Masterclass. Thanks for those of you that got it at 55 on a sale. We'll do some more sales of that soon, but still it's 20% off right now using the coupon code 20 at livecortex.com. Again, if you're new to nootropics, to sort of learn a lot of these distinctions and what you can do to survey what's wrong and how to target it with a diverse set of nootropics, kind of taking your level to the 3-year mark, that's the pro level, you have to get Nootropics Ground Zero. You just have to start there. It will save you so much time in understanding the formulation of your understanding of nootropics, stack formulation, what targets what certain nootropics do, what to start with first. You have to start there. It's a video course, livecortex.com. Last thing, For those of you business folks, okay, that need to focus on revenue and need to focus on productivity right now, you need brain performance to do that, okay? I hate the word expert, but I'm 12 and a half years into this game. It's my job. It is my mission. I make it my life to work with you to figure out the stacks that will work for your particular brain output based on whatever it is you do for business. Man, 1 month intensive consult. I cannot tell you how valuable it is. I cannot tell you how happy you'll be with the results that we get. Get the 1 month intensive at livecortex.com. A month straight working with me, very intensive. We ship you stacks in certain situations. Do it at livecortex.com. And then lastly, for those of you that need more comprehensive, larger scale work, you're on Adderall burnout, or you have PTSD or otherwise issues, or just need 3.5 months or 6 months of constant nootropics consulting and me working with you throughout that time, get the 3.5 month or the 6 month package, okay? 20% off most of the other products, our courses, Cortex, all that stuff, coupon code 20 at livecortex.com. Thanks so much for watching, everybody. Talk to you next time.